All right, Ryan, thank you very much. Getting ready for Game 4, and the Blue Jackets in that must-win situation tonight. Jody, no win, no more hockey this year. You have to wait until training camp next year, and that's not the prospect these guys are looking forward to. They intend to find a way to gut it out here tonight.
Yeah, you say that, and it just doesn't add up to me. I mean, it's amazing they're in this situation they're in, and boy, it feels way too early, doesn't it? I mean, this is an elimination game for the Blue Jackets that has just kind of stumbled upon them. Love their focus today. I mean, yesterday was disappointing, as was post-game. We got to talk to the guys, but their focus today is simple. It's they want to turn the music on after that, after this game, that victory song in the room, and that's it. And to do that, they've got to put forth a great effort. They know that. They've played some good hockey against the Pittsburgh Penguins. They've played a couple great periods in Game 1 and 2 without results. If you go back to Game 2, Pittsburgh didn't have a shot until 8 minutes into that period, and it ends up being a goal where they steal it from Sergei Bobrovsky and put it in the back of the net. So there's been a little bit of luck going Pittsburgh's way. Credit them. They're a fantastic team. But tonight, as Ryan just said, they've got to be the Blue Jackets have got to bring their best effort.
Funny thing is, they had the 3-1 lead after one period the other night here at home, and then it got away. And John Tortorella said even though that was the game that they scored the most goals in Game 3, he didn't feel that was the best game that they played. Like you alluded to, he felt the games in Pittsburgh were actually played better than the one that was played here on Sunday night, so they need to get back to that this evening. He feels that's what gives them the best chance to win.
You know, and it's funny, Coach Sullivan on the other side, he said that he felt that Pittsburgh, that was their best start to the game in a series, and it was pretty interesting to hear both coaches say that. But when you dive in a little further and you talk to the players, Boone Jenner, Seth Jones, they said, listen, it was puck possession. They thought the Penguins possessed the puck way too much in Game 3, and that led to that pressure in the defensive zone, on defense, on the forwards, and then when you give Pittsburgh that time of pressure, that time of presence in the Blue Jackets end, eventually there's going to be a crack, and they don't need much to get opportunities or score goals. So I like the way they're approaching this. I mean, from the outside, you're hearing cliches, but there's kind of a bunker mentality in there, and I really believe that their focus is just to go in and crank the music up after a victory if they can get one here tonight.
Roster changes, lineup changes, I should say, tonight. We mentioned Zach Werenski. He's out for the rest of the playoffs. Somebody has to go in. That somebody is Marcus Nudavara. He's a guy that's been here, has been playing all year, but yet still a rookie defenseman. Scott Harrington is out tonight, too. Kyle Quincy gets his first crack at the Pittsburgh Penguins in this postseason. And up front, Matt Calvert returns from his one-game suspension. And the other move, Lucas Sedlak gets back into the lineup tonight. Scott Hartnell winds up being the odd man out, and that's a tough one for Hartnell to take, I'm sure. But from the Sedlak perspective, that gives you another centerman, and one that John Tortorella has come to trust.
Yeah, and you look at the Penguins' center ice position. They're deep. They know that, especially 1, 2, 3. And even 4 with Cullen in that veteran spot in the fourth line. This brings back a guy that is reliable in John Tortorella's eyes in the middle of the ice. It moves Gagne, who's a right-handed shot. Interest sounds like he's going to play the left wing tonight, play his off wing on that line with Lucas Sedlak. Torts loves Sedlak in the down low position. He likes him on the penalty kill. He likes him taking face-offs. And Sedlak, as you talked to him today, I heard you talking to him in the media scrum, he likes being an agitator, and I think that fits well in a playoff series. Here's a kid who played over 60 games his first year in the National Hockey League. He won a championship last year in the American Hockey League, and he's been watching, and there's nothing worse for an athlete than being injured and not able to help. So look for him to bring energy and life. Nudavara is another guy. He hasn't been injured, but he's been waiting, along with the veteran Kyle Quincy. As you mentioned, they hop in with an injury and a coach's decision and Harrington being out. And then Matty Calvert brings that identity player, that guy that also kills penalties, the guy that the Pittsburgh Penguins know very well, and he brings emotion. So interesting changes. It comes at a great time. I mean, it comes at a time that when you need something to tilt. And the Blue Jackets looking for these 4 guys to bring a boost. Of course, Hartnell with that veteran presence, who the Penguins fans hate and the players hate playing against, will not be in the lineup, but that is also a coach's decision.
Yeah, they may breathe a sigh of relief, but Lucas Sedlak might take his place. One thing before we take a break here, we have a lot of new fans that have really joined throughout this best season in franchise history. When you talk about Sam Gagner playing on his off wing, can you just describe that, what kind of a challenge it is?
Well, it's a challenge, but it has its perks. And it's when you play on your strong side in the defensive zone, that means if you're a left-handed shot playing the left wing, your back is against the wall, you can see the ice in front of you, and you pick up passes on your left, and you can just continue. When you're on the opposite, you're getting passes to your backhand. It takes a little more to get things organized on that breakout position. But in the offensive position, one of the players in the league that does it very well, and a lot of goal scorers do this throughout the National Hockey League, is Ovechkin is a right-handed shot who plays the left side. It opens him up for the one-time shot down that left wing. So look for him to be a threat off the rush, playing that off wing, and they might be onto something here with Sedlak and Gagne.
And Sam Gagne loves to shoot the one-timer. We see that especially on the power play. So we'll look for that tonight. Stay tuned. We'll be back with much more. We'll hear from John Tortorella and some of the players as we get ready for Game 4 of this first round of the playoff series on the El Dorado Scioto Downs Blue Jackets Radio Network.
Now, an all-new spectacular for 2017.
Here at Nationwide Arena, Blue Jackets getting set for Game 4 of their first-round playoff series with the Pittsburgh Penguins. Bob McElligott, Jody Shelley back with you. The Blue Jackets in a must-win situation tonight as they trail this series 3-0. Zach Werenski gave all he had and then some in Game 3 here the other night. Takes a puck off the face, looked like he was going to be done for the night. Came back with a full face shield on. Couldn't go into the overtime because his face swelled up too much. John Tortorella, throughout the course of the season, when the season started, he had some nice things to say about Zach, and he was kind of tempering his comments. He didn't want to give him too much praise early on, but as the season went on and Zach earned the praise, he got it. And this is what John Tortorella had to say yesterday about Zach Werenski and about the player he thinks he is going to be in the NHL.
And I've said it all along as we get more and more questions about that guy and what type of pro he is. He is on a fast track path to be one of the mainstays in this league.
And it's amazing to hear the head coach talk about the 19-year-old rookie like that, because he doesn't jump to the front of the line to praise anyone, especially rookies. But Zach's earned that respect from not only his head coach, but we see him with his teammates, and his teammates marvel in his ability to play. And I'll tell you what, the excitement on that bench when he returned, not just on the bench, but in this building, when he returned to the bench the other night after getting that bubble put back on his, covering his face to protect that cut, to get out there on the ice, and he was kind of checking his eyesight because that that eyeball was slowly swelling shut. And then he went out there and got a couple shots on net, which I don't care if you think you can get a shot on net in the National Hockey League. It's hard to do. And you look at some of these plays and the guys that are blocking shots. He comes out and does that. Really impressive what he's done this season. We know he was banged up by Ovechkin just weeks ago. We know that was affecting him in the playoffs, but he was seamless with that. He would come back to the bench every time and kind of grimace with that upper body injury, and then to come back, and he couldn't come back anymore because of that cut to the face. Amazing kid. He's tough. He's smart, and he's really changed the direction of this organization. So he'll be missed tonight. But with the guys going in, we just talked about Nudavara and Quincy, they've got to carry some of that load and then some, because you don't want to spend too much time in the defensive zone. We know that with the Penguins.
Just with him coming back like that the other night, and I'm sorry to go ahead, but I was so impressed by with what he did. Is that really maybe, if you're looking for a clear-cut signal that things have changed here, that the expectations are higher for a 19-year-old kid to come back in that situation and play? What does that say for the future and how it's going to be looked at by the players on this team, and how important it is to play your best even when you're not 100%?
It's amazing that he understands playoff hockey and playing and sacrificing like that. And I don't know, it's just it's a really good sign, because at 19-year-old, coming from college, playing a little pro last year, figuring out this year, and I think he got tougher as the year went on. I think he realized that in pro hockey, you remember he took that shot off the ankle in Ottawa, and he thought his leg was broken. And
we all thought his leg was broken.
I mean, it was a terrible scene, but he gets his way back. He works with the trainers. He figures out that there's people here are just trying to get you back to prepare for each game. I think he's relied upon the people around him. And just personal, the character of the guy is amazing, especially a guy with that skill level, that level of ability to play with that kind of character. Yes, if you're in that room, there's nowhere to hide, because he just did that. Let's go. Pick up your stuff. Get it together. Get out there.
Exactly. Now, if you're wondering about this 3-0 hole, how tough is that to climb out of? Obviously, it is very, very tough, but it has been done. It has been done. The Los Angeles Kings did it a couple of years ago against the San Jose Sharks and went on to win the whole thing, right?
And the Flyers did it in 2010 with Scott Hartnell, the veteran on that team. They beat Boston. It was one of those things where, and Hartnell mentioned it yesterday in the room. He said, we looked at it and said, we've played 3 games. We're down 0-3. We've played well enough to win every single game. Stay with the process here. Something's got to give. I sense the same feeling with the Blue Jackets. If you go back to game 1 and 2, you look at that first period, lots of chances, don't come out with any results. Pittsburgh gets 1 or 2 and they're leading. And even last game, having that lead, losing in overtime, if you chop that up, yes, it's tough to take. It's tough to look at 0-3 for the Blue Jackets from that side. But here's what, a 1 win can change the way you feel about yourself. We know that, Bob. We've been around this team. The food tastes better when you win. The music is louder. The sun is brighter. Everything is better when you get 1 win. So that's their focus here right now. And I love what John Tortorella said earlier. Just wants this fan base and this team right now just to feel good with 1 victory in this series for now.
Brandon Saad is a guy that has 2 Stanley Cup rings. He got those when he was with the Chicago Blackhawks. And Saad says he understands the situation and tells us exactly the way his team has to approach it.
Well, I think just setting back on your experiences. You know, I've been in spots like this before, where whether it's down 2-0 in a series or 3-0, where you have to claw your way back. And it's the same approach and the same mindset of taking it 1 game at a time.
And how many times have we heard 1 game at a time? And
all year.
And, you know, you go back to that 16-game winning streak, Bob, and we said this when they were down 0-2. They prepared them for moments like this, not to look at the big picture, not to look at finishing number 1. Worry about today, worry about the process, and things take care of themselves. All the numbers are there, all the stats, all the odds are stacked against them. And I love how they've locked it down and blocked it out and said, forget it. And that's really the only way to approach tonight. Come in, throw your best at the Pittsburgh Penguins. The players like Bobrovsky, it needs to be a superstar here tonight at Nationwide Arena. Some of the big boys need to step up, but I think defensively they've really got to be focused.
Yeah, and this, you talked about it, the 1 day at a time has been the mantra for a long time, and I think we can even go a step further back to coming out of training camp when John Tortorella said that this team needs to earn respect. They have 0 respect in the playoffs right now because they're down 3 0 They can get some respect back just by getting 1 win tonight.
Oh, yeah, and you know, you look at this whole season, it's been a tremendous season. And I think the sense of pride in the room is, too, hey, we don't want to end it this way. We don't want it to end tonight. I said right off the top, it feels too quick. it feels too quick for this stand tonight. So I think the players really feel that way. Look for the urgency to be there. It should be fun here today.
Not too many people are saying they want to go to Pittsburgh, like in general, but the Blue Jackets do tomorrow. And the only way they can do that is by getting a win
like
tonight.
Pittsburgh.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. We want to go back on the road, too.
Absolutely.
What the heck? We're going to get Jody's keys to the game coming up next as we continue on the El Dorado Scioto Downs Blue Jackets Radio Network. Down 3 games to none here, and it is time to check in with Jody Shelley and see what his 3 keys to tonight's game are. What are they, Jody?
Well, key number 1, Bob, I think the best players need to be the best players here tonight. We talk about the elite players of the Pittsburgh Penguins. They've been the best players for that team. Tonight, the best have to be the best. Bobrovsky, Foligno, Wenberg. They need to have the impact on this series right away. Key number 2, defend first. I thought the Blue Jackets, with the lead the other night, kind of played like they wanted to get the next goal. Don't do that. If you get the lead especially, defend. Work on helping and taking care of your own end, and then worry about getting opportunities. But just lock things down. Key number 3, get it out of the zone. The Blue Jackets, too much time in that defensive zone. The pressure it puts on you later in a shift, you can sense Crosby, Malkin, Kessel. They enjoy it when they can break you down. They can find cracks. Just get it out of the zone. Live another day here in that regard. Those are the 3 keys.
And 2 of those things that you talked about there, first of all, the defend first mentality. If you're playing in December and you want to go up 4-1, that's okay.
Yeah.
But in the playoffs, you're just almost inviting trouble.
Yeah, because you run the risk of turnovers, and turnovers against this team, you're feeding the beast. Don't do that here tonight. Limit those opportunities. Work to grind. I love the mentality to go out and hit these guys, but also make them play in their own end. Make them wear them down. and get the flurry. It's going to happen eventually, but it's not going to happen if you're playing in your own end.
And Marcus Nudavara is a guy that John Tortorella singled out today and said he will help to be one of those guys to get the puck out of our zone. He wants it off the defenseman stick to the forward stick very quickly, and that's been really probably his strongest suit throughout the course of the year.
And that's all the Penguins have been doing. So take a page out of their book. A lot of the teams, even the elite teams with all that skill up front, I mean, the Blue Jackets have 4 solid lines that they use, but if you're in your own end, you're right, Bob. If you get stuck in there, the defenseman can't get that puck to you. There's no sense in having those forwards with speed because you need it in the offensive zone.
Sidney Crosby is still at the top of his game. If anybody had any doubt, watch what he did during the regular season. Watch what he's done in the last 2 games of this playoff series. He's playing with 2 young guys, in Connor Sheary, Jake Gensel. Gensel had 3 goals the other night. Crosby makes those guys better. What can the Blue Jackets do to shut down that line? And I know they can't just key on that line, but that one's killed them the last 2 games.
You know what? I think it's a combination of jumping on them like they did last game at home and getting that lead, getting the big save from Sergei Bobrovsky, but making that line defend. They're quick. They're very good in the offensive side of the neutral zone red line. But if you can keep them in their own end and wear them down and spend their energy down there, then you're on to something. We know how good they are offensively. Make them play in their own end.
And one last thing I should ask you about Sergei Bobrovsky. You've mentioned him a number of times, and he has not looked like the same guy he did during the regular season. But the Penguins are doing a lot of attacking from behind him.
Yes.
How do the Blue Jackets shut off that area behind the net?
They've got to shut it off, exactly. They've got to be the first on the puck in the defensive zone. They've got to be quicker to pucks, and they've got to keep those guys out of there. I know there's times you said they get that net. Sergei's got to turn around and find where the puck is. He's had a tough time with that, tracking the puck. Tonight, keep them away from the back of the net, and also don't let them pass across the whole zone. That's a different kind of attack. We haven't seen it a lot from the opposition against the Blue Jackets. You need to shut that down.
All right. I know you've got to get between the benches. I'll let you get out of here and see you during the intermission when John-Luc Grandpierre and I are up here. In the meantime, still got a couple more things for you to hear, and the first thing is from Brandon Dubinsky. Now, you know, Dubinsky's been through this before. He knows how important this game is. He is one guy that is certainly not ready for his season to be over tonight. Here's what Brandon Dubinsky says the attitude and the attack plan has to be tonight.
Don't leave anything left in the tank. You got to empty the tank and be able to, you know, as George says, look in the mirror at the end of the night and know that you left it all out there, win or lose.
That is very important, and John Tortorella does say that. He says that at the end of the night, if you can't look in the mirror at that guy in the mirror and know that that guy gave everything that he possibly had, then you're not being fair to that guy, you're not being fair to your teammates, and it's not what the structure of this team is about. And that's what Brandon Dubinsky is alluding to right there. So every guy has to do that. Before, they probably did it at home. Look in the mirror, challenge yourself, come out and have your best game of the playoffs tonight. If you do that, you got a great opportunity to win. If you don't do that, then there's a pretty good chance you're going to be cleaning out that locker tomorrow, and that is something that nobody wants to do. We mentioned Kyle Quincy is in the game tonight, mentioned Marcus Nudavara is in the game tonight, and Gabriel Carlsson is staying in. He's about to play his 6th NHL game, his 4th game in the Stanley Cup playoffs, and what will this be, his 8th or 9th game since coming over from Sweden. So he makes the adjustment from European hockey to North American hockey. The rink size gets smaller, the game gets faster, it's more intense because he's playing here in the NHL during the playoffs, but he's staying in there. And Gabriel Carlsson, it's been kind of a whirlwind for him. He's kind of just stunned as to where he is right now, but he's happy to be playing here.
Got to make the most out of it there. One chance it might be a goal in the back or in the front, so you got to be really sharp out there and just be focused all the time. And I mean, when you got a crowd in your back, it's always a good feeling to get the extra player there.
And that is exactly what John Tortorella has liked about Gabriel Carlsson, the fact that he hasn't been afraid. He's gone out there and he has just played his game. Does he have a long way to go? Of course he does. He's going to grow. He's going to get stronger. He's going to get bigger, all of that stuff. But for right now, he's doing a pretty good job. He's got the long wingspan, and he's using that to break up passes. He might get some more minutes here tonight. He got a good many at the end of the game on Sunday in Game 3. A lot of that because there were only 5 defensemen by the time we got to the overtime period. But for Gabriel Carlsson, I think he's done all right. He's held his own, and it's up to his teammates and his forwards to make sure that he doesn't get hung out to dry here tonight. Well, we've got much more to come. As a matter of fact, as Ryan Mitchell and Jean-Luc Grandpierre get ready to take over on the Blue Jackets Radio Network, we've got my interview with John Tortorella and also with Commissioner Gary Bettman, who is in the building tonight. That's all coming up. I'll talk to you when the game begins on the El Dorado Sayoto Downs Blue Jackets Radio Network.